For years, I believed my husband, Mark, had the most boring Saturday routine in the whole world. Every Saturday morning, never missing a single one, he would shower, shave, spray the same cheap cologne, and put on his old blue jacket. Then he would smile at me with that innocent, boyish smile and say the same line every week. "Linda, I'm going to play cards with the guys. I'll be back before dinner." And I always answered the same way. "All right, honey, don't lose too much money." It became our little joke, a harmless joke, or so I thought. Back then, I trusted him with all my heart. Mark wasn't just my husband, he was my best friend. The man who brought me flowers for no reason. The man who held my hand everywhere we went. The man who made everyone laugh at family gatherings. He was reliable, predictable, safe. Or at least, that's the version of him I knew. If someone had told me then that my whole marriage was a carefully wrapped gift full of secrets, I would have laughed. I would have called them crazy. Because nothing seemed strange at first. Nothing at all. Every Saturday, Mark would grab his keys, kiss my forehead, and walk out the front door humming his favorite old song. And every Saturday evening, he returned smelling like cigarettes and fried chicken, the usual scent of his card-playing friends. Sometimes he brought leftovers. Sometimes he came home with stories about the guys. Sometimes he even showed me pictures of them laughing around a table. I didn't know back then that you can take a picture anywhere, even after doing something else first. Life felt normal, too normal. But slowly, very slowly, little things began to feel off. It started one Saturday morning. I walked into the bedroom and found Mark dressing nicer than usual. Not fancy, just sharper. He had trimmed his beard. His hair looked styled. He was wearing a new shirt I had never seen. "Wow," I joked. "Are you going to play cards or going on a date?" He froze for a split second, just one breath, and then laughed. "A date? With who? Old men with missing teeth." We laughed together, but something sat heavy in my stomach, a tiny whisper that something was wrong. Still, I ignored it. People ignore a lot when they love someone. Another Saturday came. This time he left the house earlier than usual, almost too eager. Another Saturday, he came home late. Another Saturday, his phone kept buzzing, and he ignored it every time I glanced his way. Another Saturday, he said he forgot to take pictures because the guys were too serious. Another Saturday, he smelled like perfume, not fried chicken. "What's that smell?" I asked one night. He sniffed his jacket. "Oh, maybe one of the guys hugged me. They all borrow their wives' perfume." I didn't buy it, not even a little. But he kissed me, made jokes, made dinner, and for a moment I convinced myself everything was fine. The truth is, I didn't want trouble. I didn't want fights. I didn't want my heart to break. Sometimes people believe lies because the truth is too painful. Then came the day everything started falling apart. It was a rainy Tuesday morning. I was making coffee when Mark walked in, pale and shaken. I had never seen him look that way. His hands trembled and his voice cracked when he spoke. "Alan died," he whispered. I turned sharply. "What, Alan from your card group?" He nodded, looking down at his hands. "Heart attack, it happened last night." My heart softened. Alan had visited our house before. He was kind, gentle, and always made bad jokes. I felt real sadness. "I'm so sorry," I said, wrapping my arms around Mark. But even as he hugged me tightly, something felt wrong. His breathing was too fast. His eyes wouldn't meet mine. He looked like a man hiding a mountain behind his back. The funeral was set for the next week. Mark went early, saying he needed to support the guys. I followed later, driving alone. The service was peaceful, quiet, filled with tears and memories. But the moment I walked into the room, something strange happened. Every single man in that supposed card group stared at me. Not friendly. Not sad. Not welcoming. Their eyes were wide, nervous, guilty. I clutched my purse, confused. Why were they acting like they knew something I did? Then I noticed something else. A woman sat in the front row, crying quietly. She was around my age, maybe a little younger. Her hair was tied loosely, and her clothes looked tired, like she had been carrying her grief for years. This must be Alan's widow, I thought. Her eyes lifted and landed right on me. For a moment, she froze. Her crying stopped. Her lips parted like she recognized me. But I had never met her before. When the service ended and people walked outside to talk, share food, and comfort the family, I stood alone, waiting for Mark. He didn't come to me. He didn't wave at me. He didn't even look my way. He stood with 3 men, the same card friends, and they were whispering fast, worried, glancing at me over and over. My chest tightened. Something was terribly wrong. Then suddenly, Alan's widow appeared beside me. Her voice was soft but trembling. "Are you Linda?" she asked. "Yes," I said slowly. "I am." She swallowed hard, like the words stuck in her throat. "I need to talk to you," she whispered, "about your husband." My heart dropped to my feet. I tried to smile politely. Did I do something? "No," she said quickly. "You didn't, but he did." The way she said, he made my stomach twist. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice growing small. She looked over her shoulder. The card friends stared at us like they wanted to run over and stop the conversation. She leaned closer. "For years," she whispered shakily, "your husband wasn't playing cards." My breath hitched. The world tilted slightly. She took a deep breath. "My husband told me everything before he died." I blinked. "Told you what?" "That the Saturdays weren't about cards," she said with tears gathering in her eyes. "They were something else, something you deserve to know." Her voice broke. She reached for my hand. "Linda, I'm so sorry." The ground under me felt like it disappeared. "What did Mark do?" I asked, barely able to speak. She looked straight into my eyes, her lips trembling as she tried to say the words. But before she could finish, someone grabbed her arm. It was Mark. His face was pale. His eyes were wide with panic. His grip on her arm was tight, too tight. "Linda," he said quickly, almost breathless, "don't listen to her." The widow pulled her arm away and stepped behind me. "She deserves to know the truth," she shouted, her voice cracking. Mark's jaw tightened, his fists balled. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. My husband wasn't scared of losing a card game. He was scared of losing his lies. And whatever truth this widow wanted to spill, it was big enough to shake my entire marriage. My knees weakened, my throat dried, my heart raced so loudly I could hear it. "Mark," I whispered, "what is she talking about?" He looked at me with the same eyes he used when lying about perfume, about time, about everything. "Nothing," he said softly. "She's confused, she's grieving." But the widow's voice cut through the silence. "No, I'm not confused. Linda, your husband and my husband were involved in something you never imagined." People around us turned to stare. The card friends froze. The air felt heavy, thick with secrets. My hands trembled. "What were they doing?" I whispered. The widow opened her mouth. And that was when everything exploded. Before she could speak, one of the card friends rushed toward us, shouting, "Don't say anything." Then another grabbed Mark's arm. And the widow held tightly onto me, whispering in my ear, "I'll tell you everything, but not here. They're scared of the truth." My heart pounded against my ribs. The truth. The thing my husband hid for years. The thing that forced a widow to come find me. The thing Mark would do anything, absolutely anything, to keep buried. And as rain began to fall again outside the funeral hall, I realized one terrifying thing. My marriage was not what I thought it was. Not even close. The rain grew heavier, hitting the roof of the funeral hall like drums warning of danger. People rushed to their cars, umbrellas opened, whispers filled the air, but my world had gone completely silent. Only one thing mattered. The truth. The widow, her name was Emily, though I didn't know that yet, held onto my arm like a lifeline. Her fingers were cold and shaking. Her cry earlier had softened, but something deep in her eyes told me she wasn't only grieving. She was scared. Mark wasn't looking at me anymore. He wasn't even pretending. His eyes were fixed on Emily like she was a bomb about to explode. And maybe she was. "Let's go," Emily whispered. "Please, before they stop us again." I hesitated, not because I didn't want answers, but because my legs felt like they were made of sand. I glanced at Mark. His chest rose and fell, heavy with panic. He took a step forward. "Linda," he said, trying to stay calm, "don't leave with her, you're upset. I'll explain everything at home." But I had been married to him for 25 years. I knew his real voice, his lying voice, his sweet voice, his angry voice. This voice was new. This voice was terrified. Emily turned her back to him and started pulling me away. "Please," she whispered again, "for your own good." My heart pounded so fast I felt dizzy, but I followed her. We walked quickly toward the parking lot, our shoes splashing through puddles. Behind us, I heard fast footsteps. "Mark." "Linda," he yelled, "come back here, listen to me." I didn't stop. I didn't look back. My entire body was shaking, but I kept moving beside Emily until we reached her old gray car. She unlocked it with trembling hands. "Get in," she said. "I'll tell you everything once we're away from them." I didn't question her. I slid into the passenger seat. She turned the key, but before she could start the engine, the car door was yanked open. "Mark." His face was wet from the rain, but his eyes, those eyes were dark, wild, desperate. "Linda," he said, voice low and shaking, "you are not going anywhere with her." Emily leaned across me and pushed the door back. "Go away, Mark. She has the right to know." But Mark was stronger. He held the door wide open, blocking us from closing it. "I said she's not leaving," he growled. This wasn't the man who held my hand for decades. This wasn't the man who danced with me in the kitchen or brought me roses every anniversary. This man looked like a stranger. "Mark," I whispered, "you're scaring me." His eyes softened for just one moment. "I'm protecting you, Linda." "From what?" I asked. He opened his mouth but didn't answer. He only clenched his jaw. Emily reached across me again and pushed him harder. "Let her go." He didn't move. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Emily, don't do this." But she met his stare with fire. "Your lies killed my husband," she said. "I won't let them ruin her life too." My breath stopped. "Killed?" Mark's face twisted in pain. "That's not true," he snapped. "You know Alan had health issues." Emily's voice broke. "He had panic attacks because of you, because of what you made him do." My skin crawled. "What did he make him do?" I whispered. Mark's hand trembled on the door. He didn't answer. Emily turned to me. Her voice was a tremble of anger and sorrow. "He dragged my husband into something dangerous, something illegal." Illegal. The word hit me like ice. I grabbed the edges of my seat. "Mark, what is she talking about?" He didn't meet my eyes. Emily spoke again before he could try. "Every Saturday wasn't card games, Linda. They were." Mark slammed the door shut in her face. "Enough," he roared through the glass. Both of us jumped. He stood outside in the rain, breathing hard. His face was tight with fear and something else. Guilt. Emily hit the lock button and jammed the car into drive. Mark banged on the window. "Linda, don't go, you don't understand." But the truth was, I understood more than he thought. I understood that my husband, my gentle, funny, dependable husband, was hiding something dark. Something that would make a widow chase me down at her own husband's funeral. Emily turned the wheel sharply and sped out of the parking lot, leaving Mark standing in the rain, getting smaller and smaller in the side mirror. I watched him disappear, and something inside me cracked. He didn't chase us. He didn't call. He didn't run after the car. He just stood there, defeated. Almost like he knew the truth was coming. The drive was silent at first. The rain hit the windows, and the wipers brushed it away rhythmically. I kept my hands on my lap, twisting my fingers together. Emily inhaled deeply, trying to stop herself from crying again. "I'm sorry about that," she whispered. "I didn't expect him to react like that." "What is going on?" I asked softly. "Please, just tell me." She nodded, but kept her eyes on the road. "I'll tell you everything," she said, "but I need to start from the beginning." I nodded, afraid but ready. "My husband, Alan," she began, "became friends with Mark about 4 years ago. They weren't close at first, just work friends. But then, one day, he came home and told me he joined a new group." "A card group?" I asked, my voice small. She shook her head. "That's the lie they told us." My throat tightened again. "What was it then?" I whispered. Emily swallowed hard. "Mark started a secret Saturday business, something under the table, something that needed people he could trust." I blinked. "Business, what kind?" Her hands tightened on the wheel. "They weren't selling drugs, if that's what you're thinking." Relief washed through me, but only for a second. "The truth is worse," she continued. "Worse than drugs," I whispered. She nodded slowly. "Much worse." I stared at her, my heart racing. "What were they doing?" She let out a shaky breath. "Mark was running an underground gambling house." I froze. "Gambling, but that's illegal." "Yes," she said, "and dangerous. There were fights, arguments over money, people who owed them, people who threatened them." My skin prickled. "My husband tried to leave," she whispered. "He told Mark he was done. He didn't want the risk. He didn't want the stress." "And Mark didn't let him?" I asked. Her eyes filled with tears. "He told Alan he knew too much, that leaving wasn't safe." I clutched my chest. "No. Not Mark. Not my Mark." Emily's voice cracked. "The panic attacks started after that, then the drinking, then his health collapsed." Tears slid down her cheeks. "He died carrying secrets that weren't his." My breath trembled. "But why didn't he tell me? Why didn't anyone warn me?" "They couldn't," she said softly. "Mark made them promise. He said if anyone broke the agreement, there would be consequences." "Consequences," I whispered. She nodded. "Mark wasn't the man you think he is." My heart shattered. The car rolled to a stop outside a small cafe. Emily wiped her face and turned toward me. "I brought you here because there's something you need to see," she said. "Something Alan left behind for you. He didn't trust Mark. He wanted you to know the truth someday." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small brown envelope. It had my name written on it. Linda. My heart stopped. "Alan wrote this before he died," she whispered. "He said if anything ever happened to him, I should give it to you." My fingers shook as I reached for it. Emily placed her hand over mine. "Linda, whatever is inside will change everything you think you know about your husband." I swallowed hard. I opened the envelope, and the first thing I saw was a photograph. A photograph of Mark. But not with his card-playing friends. Not with Alan. He was standing at a table full of money, surrounded by people I had never seen, smiling like the man I didn't know. I stared at the picture in horror. And then I realized something even worse. Behind him, barely visible, was a woman's hand on his shoulder. A woman wearing a red bracelet. A bracelet I had seen before. Because I had bought that same bracelet for our daughter's birthday last year. But our daughter never wore it. My blood turned cold. "Who is she?" I whispered. Emily's eyes lowered. "She's the other reason I came to find you," she said quietly. "The business wasn't the only thing Mark was hiding." My breath stopped. "What do you mean?" She looked up at me, sadness deep in her eyes. "That woman with the red bracelet," she whispered. I leaned closer. She was with him every Saturday. My knees weakened. "No. Please no." Emily took a deep breath. "Linda, your husband wasn't just running an illegal gambling business." She held my hand tighter. "He was meeting someone else too." For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. The world around me felt blurry, like I was underwater. The cafe sounds faded. People talking, cups clinking, rain hitting the windows, all of it disappeared. Only one sentence echoed in my mind. He was meeting someone else. My fingers tightened around the envelope so hard it nearly tore. Emily watched me carefully, afraid I might faint or scream or run. But I did none of those things. I simply whispered, "Who is she?" Emily swallowed. I don't know her name, but I know she was someone close to them, someone who helped with everything that was happening on Saturdays. Close. Helped. With everything. The words hit me like sharp stones. I stared at the photograph again. The woman's hand on Mark's shoulder, the red bracelet, the slight shadow of her face, the smile on Mark's lips, not a polite smile, not a friendly smile. A comfortable smile. A familiar smile. "Are you sure?" I whispered. Emily nodded. "My husband told me she was always there. She managed the bets. She kept the money. She handled the people who were causing trouble." I shook my head slowly. "But that doesn't mean." She also came with Mark alone, before the others arrived. My heart fell straight to the floor. Emily looked at me with sympathy. "I'm not saying they were romantically involved. I don't have proof of that. But what I do know is that they were close. Too close for any wife to feel safe." I felt my nails dig into my palms. Why didn't Alan tell me himself? "He wanted to," she said quietly. "But he was afraid of Mark. He said Mark wasn't the man people think he is. He said Mark would do anything to protect his secrets." I swallowed hard. "I don't believe that." She looked at me sadly. "You saw how he acted today." The image of Mark slamming the car door, grabbing Emily's arm, shouting in the rain, it flashed in my mind like lightning. That wasn't my husband. That was someone else. Someone dangerous. Someone desperate. I closed my eyes, holding the envelope tighter. "What else is in here?" I whispered. Emily pointed to the envelope. "There are letters, notes Alan wrote about what happened on Saturdays, things he was too scared to say out loud." My hands trembled as I pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was worn, creased, like Alan had held it many times before deciding what to do with it. I opened it. The handwriting was messy and rushed. "Linda, if you're reading this, something happened to me. I want you to know your husband not safe man you think. He running things behind closed doors. Not only gambling, something else too. Something he never want you find out. Be careful. Trust your instinct. And don't tell him you know unless you ready. Alan." I stared at the note, struggling to understand the broken grammar and rushed writing. But one line burned into my mind. Not only gambling, something else too. I looked up at Emily sharply. "What else?" I asked. "What was he running?" Emily looked down at her hands. "I don't know. Alan never told me. He said it was too dangerous. He said if I knew, I would never sleep peacefully again." My heart tightened. "You mean something criminal?" She nodded. "Yes." I pressed a hand to my forehead. How did this happen? How did Mark get involved in something like that? Emily sighed. "It started with money problems. Alan said Mark wanted more. He said Mark was tired of working overtime, tired of bills, tired of feeling average." My chest tightened, but he never said anything to me. "He didn't want you to worry," Emily whispered. "Or maybe," she hesitated, "maybe he didn't want you to stop him." Tears welled in my eyes. "We could have figured things out together. He didn't need to hide anything." Emily reached out and touched my hand gently. "You trusted him. He took advantage of that." I flinched, not ready for the truth. Outside, the rain softened to a drizzle, and people walked into the cafe, laughing, drinking warm drinks, living normal lives. I used to have a normal life, too. Until today. Emily took a slow breath. "There's something else I haven't told you, something important." My stomach twisted. "What now?" She reached into her purse again and pulled out a small black notebook. This was Alan's. I stared at it. It looked harmless, tiny, like it belonged in a drawer next to pens and old receipts. But the way Emily held it, with both hands, carefully, like it could explode, told me this notebook wasn't harmless at all. Why did he keep this? I asked. Because, Emily whispered, it has details, names, records, dates. About the gambling. And more. I opened the notebook. The first page had numbers, a lot of them. Some written neatly, others scribbled angrily. Some were crossed out. Some had stars next to them. These are debts, Emily explained. The money people owed them. I felt sick. My husband was collecting money from strangers. Sometimes politely, she said quietly. Sometimes not. I turned another page. More names, more numbers, more notes. But then something chilling caught my eye. A list of payments. Not to strangers. To Mark. Regular payments. Saturdays, I whispered. Emily nodded slowly. They paid him to keep things running, to keep the place safe, to make sure the money didn't get stolen, to deal with people who caused trouble. My voice cracked. Deal with them how? Emily hesitated. Alan never said. He didn't want me to know. Fear crawled up my spine. What else is in here? I whispered. Emily pointed to another tab in the notebook. Turn to the red page. My hand shook as I flipped through. When I reached the red page, I froze. This page was different. Neater. Written carefully. Almost lovingly. There was a name at the top. Samantha. I stared at the name, feeling the air leave my lungs. Samantha, I whispered. That's a woman's name. Emily gave a slow nod. That's her. My throat tightened. The woman with the red bracelet. Yes. I blinked hard, fighting tears. Who is she? Why is she in this notebook? She wasn't just helping with the gambling, Emily whispered. She was helping him more than Alan ever wanted to admit. A cold wave swept through me. I turned the page again. More notes. Saturday payments. Asterisks. A little heart drawn beside her name. My voice trembled. Why is there a heart here? Emily looked away. No, I said. Tell me. She hesitated, but finally met my eyes. Because Alan believed Mark had feelings for her. My breath caught. Feelings. More than feelings. My heart cracked. Emily continued softly. Alan thought they were seeing each other, not just on Saturday. He said Mark stayed late with her, went early with her, trusted her more than he trusted anyone. I nearly dropped the notebook. No, I whispered. He wouldn't do that, not to me. Emily placed her hand on mine gently. Linda, the picture says enough. I closed the notebook, shaking. I felt dizzy. I felt sick. I felt like everything I ever believed had been ripped out of my chest and stepped on. I stared at the rain outside. Why did she come every Saturday? What was she doing with him? Emily looked down. Running the business, counting the money, managing the people. She paused. And being with him. I shut my eyes tightly. I can't hear this. But I had to. The truth wasn't going to stop. Did Alan ever say if they were actually involved? I whispered. Emily shook her head. He didn't have proof. I opened my eyes. But he believed it, she added softly. He said Mark talked to her differently, smiled at her differently, protected her differently. My soul cracked. Suddenly, Emily leaned forward. There's one more thing, she whispered urgently. Something important Mark doesn't want you to know. My heart raced. What? Emily took a deep breath. Samantha didn't disappear after Alan died. I frowned. What do you mean? Emily's eyes darkened. She's still around, and I don't think she's done with Mark. A chill ran through me. What are you saying? Emily grabbed my hands tightly. I'm saying she might be the reason he didn't want you talking to me today. My body froze. The words hit hard. What? Emily nodded. Mark wasn't trying to stop me from telling you the truth because of the gambling, she whispered. He was trying to stop me from telling you about her. My heartbeat hammered in my ears. I felt a new fear, different from before. Deeper, more personal. "Emily," I whispered, "where is she now?" Emily opened her mouth, but before she could answer, my phone buzzed loudly, making both of us jump. I picked it up with trembling fingers. It was a text from Mark. Just 4 words. "Where are you, Linda?" My hands shook so much, I almost dropped the phone. The message glowed on the screen like a warning. "Where are you, Linda?" My heart raced. My throat felt tight. For years, he had sounded sweet and gentle, but right now, that simple sentence felt like a threat, like a man afraid of losing control. Emily leaned closer. "Don't answer him," she whispered. But my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a voicemail. Emily reached forward and slowly pushed the phone away from me. "Linda," she said softly, "he knows something is wrong. If you answer now, he'll try to manipulate you." Tears pooled in my eyes. "I loved him," I whispered. "I trusted him. How could he hide all this from me?" Emily squeezed my hand gently. "People who hide double lives, they are good at pretending." I shook my head. "He wasn't always like this." "Maybe he was," she whispered. "You just didn't see it." I wiped my eyes and stared at the notebook lying between us. The name Samantha still burned in my mind like a fresh wound. Suddenly, my phone rang again. Mark was calling. The cafe felt too small. My chest felt too tight. My entire life was collapsing in one afternoon. "No," Emily said firmly. "Don't answer." But the ringing didn't stop. It echoed through my skull. Again. 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 Finally, I took a deep breath, grabbed the phone, and pressed accept. Before Emily could stop me. "Linda," Mark's voice came through the line immediately. His tone was sharp, urgent. "Where are you? Why did you run off with that woman? Come home, we need to talk." I couldn't speak. My lips trembled. "Linda," he said again, voice rising, "answer me." I finally whispered, "You lied to me." Silence. Then his voice softened like sugar melting. "Baby, I can explain." "That's what people say when they're guilty," I whispered. He exhaled sharply. "She's lying to you, Linda. She's angry because of her husband's death. She wants someone to blame." "She gave me proof," I said softly. Another pause. His voice now came out lower, colder. "What did she show you?" "Enough," I whispered. He cursed under his breath. "Linda, whatever she told you, it's twisted. She doesn't know the full story." "What story?" I asked. "That you were secretly running an illegal gambling house." His breath caught, a small, sharp inhale. He didn't deny it. My heart sank deeper. "And what about Samantha?" I whispered, my voice cracking. "Who is she?" He hesitated. It was quick, but long enough for my heart to crack again. "She's nobody," he said too fast. "Just someone who helped us keep order, that's all." "You put a heart next to her name," I whispered. His voice dropped to a whisper. "She meant nothing, Linda." Emily's eyes softened with sympathy as tears rolled down my cheeks. "Mark," I whispered, "did you cheat on me?" He stayed silent. Completely silent. That silence was my answer. My heart broke in a way I had never felt before. When he finally spoke, his voice trembled. "Linda, I made mistakes, but everything I did, every single thing was for us, for our future." "Our future," I choked. "By lying, by cheating, by threatening your friend, by destroying his life." He sighed. "I didn't threaten Alan." "He was scared of you," I said. "He had anxiety," Mark snapped. "He always overreacted. He was weak." My blood ran cold. Weak. He called a dead man weak. Emily's eyes widened. She heard every word through the speaker. I took a shaky breath. "I don't know who you are anymore." "I'm your husband," he said quickly. "The man who loves you, the man who has been there for you for years. Don't let that woman poison your mind, Linda. Come home." "Home," I whispered. "How can I come home to someone I don't recognize?" I heard him smack something hard, maybe the table. His breath grew rougher. "You're mine, Linda," he said quietly. "Don't forget that." Something inside me snapped. I'm not yours, I whispered. Not anymore. And I hung up. I stared at the black screen, feeling both terrified and strangely free. Emily took my hand. You did the right thing. But I felt like my entire chest had cracked open. What do I do now? I whispered. Emily reached into the notebook again, flipping through pages until she found something. Alan wanted you to have this, she said. He wrote it months before he died. She handed me a folded letter. With trembling fingers, I opened it. Linda, if you reading this is because Mark not same person you marry. There danger around him, around his Saturdays, around the people. I try to help him change. I fail. Promise me you save yourself. Don't let love blind you. You nice person. You deserve truth. Walk away before he pull you into things too deep. I wiped my tears as I finished reading. Emily whispered, Alan was a good man. He didn't want anyone, especially you, to get hurt. I nodded slowly. I understand. Because I truly did. Mark didn't just fall into darkness. He chose it. And now I had to choose something too. Emily squeezed my arm gently. You're not alone. If you need a place to stay, you can come to my house tonight. It's safe. I took a shaky breath. I need to go home, not to stay, but to take my things, and to tell him I'm done. Emily frowned. Are you sure? I nodded. I can't run from my life. I have to face him, one last time, then I walk away. Emily hesitated, but finally nodded. Then I'm coming with you. Together, we drove back to my house. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still dark, heavy, a storm waiting for its last clap. When we pulled into the driveway, my heart almost stopped. Mark's car was there, and he was standing outside, waiting. He didn't look angry anymore. He looked broken, lost. His hair was wet, his face was pale, his eyes were swollen like he'd been crying. When I stepped out of the car, he walked toward me slowly, hands raised like he was approaching a scared animal. Linda, he whispered, please don't do this. I felt my voice tremble. Mark, you lied to me for years. You put me in danger. You cheated. You hid everything. I don't even know who you are. He shook his head desperately. I did it for us. I stepped back. You did it for yourself. I love you, he whispered. No, I said softly. You love controlling me. His tears spilled over. Don't leave me, Linda, please. I can change, I swear. You had years to change, I whispered. And you chose her, and that life, not me. His chest heaved. I'm begging you. Emily stepped beside me, strong and steady. She's leaving, Mark. Don't make this harder. Mark's jaw tightened. He looked at her with hatred. But when he looked back at me, his face softened again. Please, Linda, he whispered. Please. I took a deep breath. Then another. And finally said the words I never thought I'd say. It's over, Mark. He closed his eyes, like the words stabbed him straight through the heart. I walked past him, into the house, packed one suitcase, took my keys and walked out again. He didn't stop me. He didn't yell. He just sat on the front steps, crying into his hands. When I reached the car, I looked back one last time. The man on the steps wasn't my husband. He was a stranger wearing his face. I got into the car beside Emily and whispered, Let's go. She nodded and started the engine. As we pulled away, I felt a strange mixture inside me. Pain, anger, relief, freedom, and the heavy weight of betrayal. But I also felt something else. Strength. I was leaving behind the lies. The secrets. The Saturdays. And as we drove off into the quiet night, I whispered to myself, almost like a promise. I will never ignore my instincts again. For the first time in years, I felt safe. Life would not be easy. Healing would not be quick. But I was free. And that was enough. Thanks for watching. Kindly drop your comment about this story. And please subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories.